I would come home, and again, she was getting what was left at the end of the day. I was that burnt out.
Your confidence, mate, has just exploded as well. Like, is that confidence come from knowing the business is in a better place?
Being able to have that time to understand how it all actually works, that has totally changed my perspective on how everything runs. Because if you're not right, nothing else is around you.
Jeez, mate, you're stealing all my sayings now. Hey guys, welcome back to another cracking episode of Level Up. We are back on Zoom to do another one today because we've got Luke Callery from Callery Building. I'd like to say Luke's become a bit of a mate over the last few years since becoming a member of Live Life Build. So Luke's also got some other really interesting and exciting things going on that he's also helping the industry out with at the moment, which we'll get through during the podcast. But yeah, welcome Luke. How are you, mate?
Awesome, mate. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No, well, mate, thanks for taking the time out. I know you're a very busy business owner at the moment.
Yeah, definitely plenty going on at the moment, mate. We've, I'm sure we'll touch on it throughout the podcast, but with sort of what we've managed to implement through Live Life Build, we're sort of in probably the best position we've ever had. Awesome pipeline of work, good current projects, so plenty happening.
Mate, I got a lot I want to talk to you about. It's up to you how far you want to go with it, but. Look, I know a fair bit about you now. You've been with Live Life Build for, I think it's 3 years, or around 3 years.
Pretty close. I think it was...
You're coming up to it.
Yeah, probably 2.5, nearly 3 years, I think.
Yeah, so, mate, can you tell us, can we go back before that? Like, tell us a little bit about your background before you come on board and before we met through Live Life Build.
Yeah, mate, we can go right back to the start if you want, because I was sort of got thrown in the deep end very, very early. I obviously, like most builders, started out doing a carpentry apprenticeship, grew up out in the country. Wasn't a huge array of builders out there. It was sort of pretty competitive with sort of obviously not a huge population. Once I finished my apprenticeship, my current boss at the time, my boss, things were a bit quiet and I got put on as a casual straight away and basically left with no work. No one else sort of around the area wanted to employ anyone as a full-time employee. They all sort of wanted everyone to go out and get an ABN and just work as a contractor so they could sort of just have you on board when they needed you for a few days here or there and try and cheat the system and not have to worry about paying your super and all that sort of stuff. So
that's our industry, mate. That's how it operates.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. So I really got thrown in the deep end straight away. I didn't really. I haven't been an employee since my apprenticeship. Basically, from day one, I think I worked 2 days as a casual carpenter, and then basically been I'll call it self-employed since then. So it was a bit of a thrown right in the deep end that I really had to start thinking outside the box and learn, I guess, how to run a business as early as I could. So
how old were you then, mate? Did you finish year 12 or did you do any uni or anything?
Nah, so I didn't. I think I did the first term of year 12. Had my year level coordinator and the principal pulled me aside for a meeting pretty well at the end of the first term and said, "Look, I think it's about time you find a job because you're not really achieving much being here." So I completed all of year 11, and then one of my good mates through high school at the time, his dad was a builder, so I'd done a few rounds of work experience with him, and it sort of got to that time. He sort of offered me at the start of the year to do a school-based apprenticeship. I didn't really want to have that sort of half at school, half full-time or whatever, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to commit to it then. So after that first term, and they sort of, as politely as they could, told me to leave school, jumped on board with them full-time. So I would have been... Well, I think I was still 16 when I started my apprenticeship.
So did that, how did that affect you moving forward? Or like, is that something that you maybe didn't realise affected you for a while, like being told that you were failing at school and you needed to do something else?
Nah, not really, because it wasn't that I was failing at school. It was just that because what I wanted to, I always knew from a really, really early age that I wanted to do something to do with building. Every opportunity I got, mum and dad would be fucking cracking the shits because I'd be ripping everything out of the shed, cutting everything up, nailing it together. It didn't matter whether dad had put it aside for something special or not, but I always knew that I wanted to do something to do with building. So it was kind of, when I got to year 12, the lessons that I was doing in year 12, a lot of them were almost repeats that I'd done in year 11 already, because I didn't need the extra education to go off to do a uni degree or anything like that. I was sort of just going through the motions, just ticking off time basically. So I was pretty well ready to go as well. I just didn't really see it coming that I'd sort of get asked to go find something to do.
Yeah. Well, look, it's probably a good thing they did, mate, because you
Yeah,
got ahead of the game a little bit. But like, were you prepared to go into the working world? Like,
Yeah,
had
I
you?
think I was because before that I had a part-time job before that as well. I started out my first job. I worked at a dairy farm, so I do every second weekend and the odd after school as well. So I I was pretty well ready to go already, and I just like I said, just going through school just to pass the time basically. So that taught me a lot about I guess the work ethic early because there was no excuses with working on a dairy farm. Like that was 4 a.m. at the dairy, like not 4 a.m. up out of bed. That was 4 a.m. You had to be there for first milking. Then you go home for a while during the day, chill out, go play footy or whatever, and then go back in the afternoon for a 3:30 milking and didn't finish until like 7:30 at night. So they were phenomenal days, and I'd take my hat off to everyone that does that as a full-time job because there's no bloody hell I could do, no way I could do that now.
Mate,
But
I spent a lot of time on a dairy. So my mum's family had a large dairy farm up at Mother Mountain in Gympie.
Yep.
Actually very close to Craig Stewart, who
Yep.
everyone's heard on the podcast. And so growing up, that was where like every long weekend, holidays, like we spent a lot of time there, and I loved it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you just said, it is an insanely hard life. Like the cows
Very
don't
demanding.
wait, so you're
No.
up early every day. It's 7 days a week. There's no excuses.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely take my hat off to the people that do that. But so you made it through your time, and you basically got thrown in the deep end and straight into self-employment and
Yep.
subcontracting.
Yeah. So yeah, subcontracted for I wouldn't even have a clue how many years now. I started on my own, like just ticked away, just essentially labouring for other builders for probably about 2 or 3 years, just by myself, just providing them when they needed it, and then finally sort of bit the bullet after that sort of time and had another young bloke that I grew up with back in our country town that I grew up in. He what was he doing? He'd just been on overseas travel, I think, and was looking for something to do. So I took him on as a labourer for a little while, ended up signing him up as my apprentice. Got him signed up through Master Builders, just really wanted to make sure in case shit hit the fan and I failed that he still was able to be positioned with another employer. But yeah, got about 2 years in and ended up just taking him on full time. And yeah, I think it was progressed forward a big jump from there. Did my Cert 4 studies and got my builder's license back in 2017.
Oh right, so I thought you'd had it a bit longer than that. So what you were building for what 4 years, four and a half years, and then come across Live Love Build.
Yeah, it would have been about that, I reckon. What are we now? 2024. Yeah, probably five years or so. I've lost track of time now. It's late in the arvo now.
So mate, what like in that period, what are some of the struggles you had, like trying to get your business up and running and stay profitable and those types of things?
As in before I joined Live Life Build.
Yeah, like in that first 5 years of your business, like what?
That was if there's one bit of advice I can give people that because what I found and talking to a lot of young guys that are just coming out of their carpentry apprenticeship now, and I can say this open-heartedly because I was in the same boat. All I wanted to do, I thought I was going to solve the world's problems by going out and just building frames, go and work for a volume builder and just knock up frames because it was so easy to get contracts to go and do it, and it was very, very. I very quickly realised why it was so easy because the amount that they would go through, the money was just horrendous. The first big job that I did on my own, we had these. There was two-story townhouses alongside of each other, and we did both of those. We had to do all of the framing, we did all the hebel, and the rest of the cladding for those as well. There was another crew that did the house on the corner, basically the same size house. If anything, it was a little bit bigger. I reckon they did the whole house in about 3 or 4 days, and we took about 3 weeks. It was just, I can't work out how my pride in wanting to do a good job got in the way of doing it to be able to make money. So there was a couple of things that I looked over, like one lunch break I went over once they'd gone and a bit of a look over, and some of the quality of what it was, those type of jobs, you can't afford to do a good job to be able to actually make any money out of it. So that was probably my biggest struggle, was realising that I would have been able to save more money sitting at home with the aircon flat out, all the lights on and all the doors open. I would have been able to save more money that way than going to work.
It's very, like, I think it's a different set of skills, but it's a very important set of skills to know. Like, I think, like my apprenticeship, I was very lucky. Like the first 2 years was with a custom builder that took pride and did everything perfectly. And then the second half was doing volume work.
Yep.
So I got the skills and the craftsmanship and the quality there, but then I also got to pick up the speed. But yeah, and then I reckon I've managed to land in the middle. But like you say, it's some of that stuff that gets thrown up. Like it is impossible. Like and it's not just carpentry. Like I feel for the plumbers, the sparkies, the concreters. Like everybody has to cut corners to be able to make. They either have to cut corners or they need to do huge volume. Like you've got to have a big crew. You've got to be, like, if you're concrete, you've got to be smashing out 4 slabs a day. If you're a plumbing business, you've got to be doing 4 under slabs a day. Like you've got to just head down, bum up, smash the shit out.
Yeah. It is a good point that you touched on there as well, though, like about trying to find that fine line, that middle ground of being efficient enough to be able to make money out of it, because it doesn't matter whether, if you've got a contract that you've priced it well, if you're still taking too bloody long to do it, well, what's the point? So it is that, I guess, that skill of trying to find that fine line of where is the middle ground, how neat can I be and how long can I take to do it?
Yeah, so what, like that first 5 years between getting your builder's license and then figuring out you're getting to a point where you wanted to get do some personal development, get some help and things, like what, besides that problem, like what sort of business problems did you have?
Well, cash flow was always the best one. I'm trying to work out how the hell to price anything. What's been really good to look back on, actually, we had an inquiry came through from a job that I priced back in, I think it was 2018. They reached out only a couple of weeks ago. So I thought they actually went with someone else. I thought I was too expensive or whatever, but they'd reached out, sent an email through to our admin email saying that, the timing wasn't right back then. They really liked the way that we went about it. They're finally in a position to actually move forward with it now. I look back through our system on how I priced it, how I saved everything, like the project file that I created. And are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, mate, go for your life.
It was a fucking shit show. I could not work out how I managed to actually price any of it. I found an old Excel spreadsheet that I genuinely don't even know how the hell I made any money out of it. I think it was only because we were doing so much of the labour component ourselves. I was on the tools full time as well, that anything that I'd made any profit on was only on the carpentry component, because I think I'd stuffed it up that bad that the 10% that I was adding on it, all that was for was actually just to cover the GST. It wasn't even 10% to try to make any profit on it. So it was...
Mate, I think that's a really important point, what you just made there, that you only made money because you were on the tools doing the work. And and all the conversations I have now with not just builders, with trades in the industry, that's where they're making their money. Like if they actually stepped back to run the business, they would go broke. Like they're actually only making money because they're working. Like, so I don't know. It's a bit of a tricky one to try and get across in a podcast, but like so many people in our industry are just earning the same as what their employees are.
Yeah.
Like if you're a plumber, you're earning not much more or the same as what you're paying your plumbers to work for you. If you're an electrician, the same thing. If you're a plasterer, like it's a big move and to get your head around. Like you have to figure out the role you play in your business, and you have to treat yourself as an employee to the business, and you need to get paid for that role. And that needs to be part of your overheads or part of your supervision or however you got your business structured. But your business needs to be making 10% profit on top of you.
On top of, yeah.
Like on top of you getting paid your salary, not you just taking what's left at the end of the job.
Yep.
So how have things changed? Like what sorry, to go back a little bit, like what was the turning point for you? Because I know when I first met you, you were struggling with things, like you didn't sort of really know where to turn. Like what made you realise you needed to do something?
I can't really pinpoint it to like one exact time, because I reckon before we actually finally met in person, I'd been a part of Live Life Build for probably a good 6 months. So I knew I'd started reading a few books. I came across, I had another builder mate of mine had said that he'd listened to the book $1 Million Builder, like an audio book. So I started listening to that. And then at that time, I'd had a few marketing calls from another builders coaching group that I'm not going to name because I wasn't too fond of those. Stupidly, I joined them and I was a part of them for 12 months. But at the same time, I started actually seeing your marketing pop up. And it was just the way that your message got put across. It was so much more relatable. It wasn't, because like I said, I'm not going to name names, but the other coaching platform, it was people that hadn't actually been a builder themselves. And it sort of just made me start wondering, like, how the hell does someone that's never actually done this before, how can you know everything and start telling these people how to run a business if you've never actually done that properly yourself? I get you can go off everybody else's data, but how accurate could that possibly be? So once your message started coming across, I really started to connect with that. And then I made the commitment to, I think I still had about 6 months to go with them. And I wasn't really doing much in the platform because I went to a live event for it, and it was more, to me personally, it felt like more of a competition. No one was really encouraging each other. Someone would say something on what they were struggling with, or something that they'd done well, and someone else would talk over top of them and basically almost like put them down. It was like a competition. There was no encouragement. It was really frustrating. So I made the choice then. I thought, oh, something's got to change here. So I jumped on with Live Life Build as well. And so I had the financial commitment to both of them at the same time. And I can openly say this, and you know this too well, that I'm not saying it just because I'm on your podcast and you're the owner of Live Life Build as well. It has genuinely changed my life. Like what something like that can do is just it's undescribable. And it is, I don't know how do you describe that to someone, what it can really do without experiencing it yourself? I really struggle to try and explain to someone how much it can benefit you.
Well, mate, I'm not sure. And look, I don't, as most people would know that listen, like I struggle to sell myself. Like I do everything I do because I'm genuinely on a mission to, like I've been there, I've been through shit that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So my purpose is just simply to help people, like just say it how it is, be real. Some people like it, some people won't. But I do believe that you will not find a community or a program anywhere in our industry half as good as Live Life Build. Like it's a pretty special place.
Yep.
But it is hard to get that across. And look, so many people, I guess, are looking for that quick fix. But I feel like Luke, probably one of the other reasons we've connected, and like we always have a good chat when we catch up in person. Like I believe Live Life Build is like, it's a community of, like, when we get together, everyone's walking around in pluggers and boardies. Like it's chilled out. You have a few beers. Like it's very relatable. There's no and it's interesting you said about that other program that it felt like a competition, because I know from what I was involved with before in the years that I was trying to get help, and from what I even see now on social media, that's what it sort of comes across as. Like it's a lot of just smashing the marketing, increasing your turnover, like this competition to be the best. Like I even see a lot of them have like, I wouldn't call it a competition, but you see they put these stats out about their members that have reached a certain turnover level and all this sort of shit. And like, to me, like, turnover is nothing, obviously, if you're not making profit, but it's also nothing if you're not living the life you want to live. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the point of making good money if you're still stuck in the business and you can't get away from it, and you don't get to enjoy your life? Yeah,
you're dead right. Like, what you say to a young bloke coming out of their time that you've turned, I'm turning over 10 million bucks. I'm not, I can tell you that, but maybe one day. But if you're turning over that sort of money and you're still working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, not ever going on a holiday, and you're either half on the tools or full-time on the tools still, like, what the hell's the point? That's not a life.
Yeah.
You bought yourself a job.
Yeah, 100%. But if we can dig deep into it, Luke, like you were, like you said, we didn't catch up in person for maybe 6 months after you signed up, and I know we had some conversations on the phone, and you're in, like, for a while there, you're in a pretty bad way, and then we caught up at the one of the, I think it was the Kingscliff event.
Yeah. Yep.
And yourself and your partner, like your beautiful partner, like we had some good conversations, and like you guys could have gone either way. Like you got to a point there where you basically had to just walk away and shut it all down, or you got stuck in, put in the effort, put in the time, and focused on what you needed to focus on. And look, honestly, when I left that Kingscliff event, after you and I had some pretty deep conversations, like I didn't know which way you were going to turn. And I think when we left that event, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you really knew then which way you were going to go either.
Yeah, Yeah, it was a bit up in arms. It was to go back probably a month or two before that. Like the position we got to, we were making bugger all money to start with anyway, and I'd sort of not guaranteed that I was winning some projects. I was leaving it sort of a bit late to try and get these projects over the line and get signed up, and they weren't far away from when we thought we were going to be signing contracts. It was pretty much sign a contract, and within about 2 or 3 weeks, the project would actually start. So we were basically needing these jobs to be able to stay alive, and one fell through over the Christmas break. They had a change of heart. They decided that it was more money than they wanted to spend, and they wanted to look around to try and buy another house. And another one, same thing. They wanted to shelve it for 12, 18 months or whatever, just to see whether they could save more funds and end up doing the whole project. So within the space of about 2 weeks, we'd lost 9 months of our project schedule for the start of the year. So it kind of went from the point of we had no cash flow already and were needing these 2 projects to start, to all of a sudden it's like, well, fuck, you lose one job, all right, that really puts the pressure on. You start to think, what are we going to do? You lose both of them, then you really go, holy shit, what now? How do I... So, like, we'd had a pretty good Christmas holidays. We'd gone away. We were interstate, done some four driving and camping, having the time of my life, but ended up having to cut that holiday short because it was chewing away at me so much that I'm thinking the whole time, I can't afford to do this anymore. Like, how am I going to go home now and tell my current employees that I'm sorry, I can't employ you anymore. I need to fold this up. How do I go to a homeowner and say, I'm halfway through your job? Sorry, I don't know how to finish this. I've got no money. I can't afford to keep going. So that was probably one of, well, it was definitely the worst time in business that I've ever had. That was terrifying. And then the timing of it, somehow we still managed to commit to going to the first Live Like Build live event, which was my turning point. When I caught up with the community that was there, met yourself and Amelia and every other builder that was there, going through, I don't know whether anyone else was in quite that bad a position as well, but being able to actually communicate with other builders that are going through the same shit day to day, the same struggles, and everybody actually encourage each other, provide a little bit of advice, check in on you. That was my turning point, that I realised, fuck, I've invested too much of this just to let go. I've got to find a way to make this work. And that's, I guess, one thing I've always...
But how do you do that, mate? Like, this is something I'd like to dive into, and it's hard because it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but like,
yeah.
How do you keep pushing forward? Because a lot of people that are listening to this podcast will be in that position right now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you keep pushing when you have no funds? You can't see a job in front of you. You don't know where the money's coming from. Like, you don't know what the answers are. And like you're focusing on all the negative shit all the time. Like, what made you keep pushing forward?
I wish I had an easy answer for that. Honestly, I really do. I've always had pride in myself to, I don't know, somehow just make it work and just keep working. Always explore. Sort of, I guess you say it quite well. Always focus on what is in your control. If there's stuff that's out of your control, there's no point stressing on it because you can't change that. No matter how much it consumes you, there is nothing that you can do about it. So what can you focus on that is in your control to try and make it a little bit better? And it's those little 1%ers that you can take out of that will slowly add up and, I don't know, somehow find you a solution. So in that example, we actually had another one. We weren't quite as bad as that, but we had another project fall over. I think it was either late last year or early this year as well. We had a big gap to fill. So I went, shit, okay. I'm in this. I don't want to be in this same position where we're really, really scraping the barrel. And I went back through every single lead that I could possibly think of over a 9-month period to try and, even if they'd said no and they weren't interested, because at that point was when we started doing the pack process, and we had a few inquiries that they didn't want to do the pack process. They just wanted to build it, quote it for free and come and build their project. I reached out to every single one that I could find, even if they'd said no, to try and come up with something. You never know whether the project had fallen over, they'd gone with someone else, and the project was finished, and they had even like a little maintenance job that they needed done. And stuff like that, you never know. Like, one door closes, another one opens, stuff like that. So that job shut. And by reaching out to all these previous leads, we had a lead that originally reached out 3 years ago that had come up late last year that went for architectural tender, that I didn't want anything to do with that. But we had a little bit of a personal connection with the homeowner that we ended up then winning that job. It is the longest, or the biggest project that we've ever done contract wise as in time frame, but it's also the biggest value project we've ever done as well, with the most incredible client. When you sit down with people and tell them their story, or sorry, tell them your story about what you want to achieve out of business, and they align with your values as well. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Magic, mate. It's where the magic happens.
It's where the magic happens. But it's just keep focusing on what's in your control, basically, is probably the simplest way you can put it.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to keep drilling you on this, mate, because I want to help people, and like, people that are in that situation need to hear from people that have been there. Like, that's why I told my story. Like, so obviously that's one reason, but like, you were investing money to be in Live Like Build, and like, I know even myself back in the day when I was needing help, like it's so hard to commit to spend money that you are telling yourself you might not get anything out of or get something back for, and your bank account's dry, and you know you've got more important, well, at the time you think you've got more important bills to pay because you underestimate how valuable you are. Like, what?
It's not even the financial commitment that's the big thing as well. Obviously, yes, it does cost money to be involved in something like that, but it's the commitment of time as well, as you would know, and every other single builder that's walking around at the moment goes, no, I haven't got enough time. I haven't got time for that. I've got to be on site. I've got to build this. It sounds so simple about using a schedule, more so a personal schedule, as well as, you know, obviously you have to have your project scheduled. If you're not doing that, well, fucking, you know, you
plenty that don't, mate.
I know. But as simple as like a personal schedule, because I was in that boat. Like I said, I was a part of Live Life Build for 6 months before I really started investing into it. And it's that instant fix. I think when you first sign up to something like that, you take a deep breath and you go, right, I've signed up to coaching. I think that's helped me. But if you don't actually schedule the time to actually dive into the platform and do anything with it, well, what's the fucking point in being involved in it? So that was me for the first 6 months. So anyone else that is listening, that's the huge amount of encouragement I can give you, is just because you sign up, it doesn't mean it's going to change your life. You actually need to commit to it, schedule aside. I think I was doing I think it was an hour a week, one afternoon, whether it was a Wednesday or a Thursday afternoon. I would make sure I went in. If I'd missed the Zoom call during the week, I would go home that night. I'd have dinner, then I'd go sit on the couch or go in the spare room or whatever, and I'd make sure I watched back that Zoom call myself. So it's just starting with that, because you've got all this incredible resource that's right in front of you. It's right at your fingertips. But if you choose to do nothing with it still, well, what's the point?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like that, and we'll definitely get onto, like, Luke's having incredible success now, which we'll get to shortly. But I think it's like it's a secret. Like, no one and look, whether it's Live Like Build or anything, but I know, again, myself, like, people go to these one-day events or these workshops, and like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it could be an unheard of name, or it could be Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone. Like, there's thousands of them around now, or it could just be a local person. Well, it could be someone like myself, or it could be a real estate expert or something that's putting on a seminar. And people go to these things, and I used to do this as well, and you expect to walk out of that and just have this rule book and this recipe to just all of a sudden make millions of dollars. And the other thing that happens, and I'm guilty of this as well, like, you sit at these events and you just tell yourself, oh, it can't be that easy. Like, fuck, what, like, he's full of shit. Like, fuck, that's not going to happen. Like, oh, fuck, I haven't got the time to do that. Like, you're telling yourself all these excuses. But reality is, I've learnt now, like, you go to these events, you pay money. It doesn't matter whether you buy a $180 ticket or you buy a $10,000 ticket. Like, if you actually take notes and take the stuff away, and then take the time to reread those notes and implement those things, it will change your life.
Because it is that. I'm going to touch on that as well, because you go to the event, you take the notes, because I was guilty of this as well. I've been to a few of these one-dayers. You go to the event, you take all the notes, you feel G'd up, you feel on top of the world, I'm going to kill it. And then that notebook goes in the top drawer of your desk or in your glove box, and you never look at it again.
Yeah. But like, it literally is. Like, there is thousands of people around the world now that are telling you the secrets to success, and people don't implement it because they think it just can't be that easy.
Yeah.
But mate, I'll take my hat off to you. Like, I'll definitely put it out to the people listening to this podcast now. Like, I am incredibly proud of you. Like, to go from the conversations that we had. So Kingscliff was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, March 2022. I think.
And so just to give, like, I'm not going to talk numbers and things because that's private stuff, but like, you've just had your most profitable year by a huge amount. Like, it's life-changing, isn't it? Like, you've put in the effort, you've been consistent, you've shown up, and the results are now speaking for themselves.
It is, and it's been good to actually reflect on it, because most financial years, you catch up with your accountant at the end of the financial year, and they try and make you feel better, and they say, "Oh, look, you've made money because we've allocated that there, and you've gone this," and they make it sound like you've made a little bit of money. I remember, go back a couple of years ago, the accountant I had at the time, we got to the end of the year, and I had nothing in the bank account, and he's going, "Oh, look, you made 100 grand for the year." I went, "Really? Where's the money? I haven't got anything."
Yeah, I've got bills to pay.
Yeah, still got bills to pay. I got no money, but you're telling me I've made an accounting profit somehow. So the biggest difference this financial year is to get to the end of it, and it is by far the most profitable financial year that we've ever had. But to look in the bank account at the end of the financial year as well and see that money actually physically in there, that's life changing. That was like, holy shit, this is actually working.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's working incredibly well. And look, it's not just by accident. Like, you have put in a lot of work. Like, you've really shown up in the last 2 years. But can we touch on, like, there's a few other things that are going on with that. Like, you like we talk about all the time. Like, you've got to have a good team around you. And I know you're having some conversations with your accounting team at the moment. Like, you've got to surround yourself with people that are up at the level you want to get to, or at least working towards that as well, aren't you? Because you've had this incredible year, and look, it's not just 1 year that Luke's had. Like, the previous year, you had had a good win as well, but you've just kept pushing and pushing, and like, this year's just absolutely fucking 10x'd it.
Yeah,
which is unbelievable. But now you're at a point where you need to be working with an accountant that's like, what's your goals? What are you aiming for? What's your predicted profit for next year? Because how have you been? We haven't had much conversation, but did you end up?
No, it's actually been really good, and that I appreciate the conversation we had at the last live event in Adelaide about that, actually, because I knew that I had to ask more questions, but I didn't know how to ask and exactly what to ask. So that's been the difference on. I actually thought to start with, I thought, shit, maybe my accountant doesn't understand this completely. But now that I've actually realised the questions to ask, I'm getting the answers back that I actually wanted to hear and getting a bit more direction. So we catch up. Used to be every quarter that we would catch up. We'd just do a little bit of planning before each bass was due or something like that. But I reckon, I can't even remember how many times we've caught up this financial year already. It's been a lot. Feels like almost just about every fortnight. Hasn't quite been that regularly, but it's been really good actually to sit down. Some of the other systems that we're sort of putting in place at the moment, or trying to work on as well, just to project things and predict things a little bit differently. So it is a bit of a scary one if those numbers are ticking over and you don't understand where it's come from or what to do with it. You definitely put the wind up me about that. It can get you in a lot of fucking trouble really quickly if you don't know.
Well, it's a whole different ball game, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, tax isn't a dirty word. Like, if you're paying tax, you're running a good show. You're making money, and then it just becomes another ball game. Like, then you've got to figure out tax reducing strategies and like have a team around you to figure out investments or whatever it is. But the last thing you want to do is just push like shit, improve all your systems and processes, make heaps of money, and then get to the end of financial year and go, fuck, you've made a substantial amount of money, and now a big chunk of that's all got to go to the tax man.
Yep. That you weren't budgeting for, and all of a sudden,
that you weren't budgeting for. That. Yeah. But mate, I take my hat off to you. Like, you guys deserve everything that's come your way. Like, you've really smashed it out. Because like, Caitlin helps a lot. Like, she's been a big part of it. Like, your partner,
mate. She's my rock for sure. Definitely my biggest supporter. I reckon that was probably my biggest turning point as well. I say that she's always been my biggest supporter, but at that live event as well, what she took out of that first live event that we had up in Kingscliff, for her personally as well, it was bizarre, because we both went to that not really knowing we'd never been to something like that before, not knowing what we're going to get out of it, and she almost didn't want to come. She thought, I'm not in the business. Well, at the time, she wasn't in the business. She's come on board in the last little while now, doing some photography and videography stuff with us now. But before that, she had nothing to do with it. So she's going, why am I coming to this event? Like, I'll just go sit in the hotel room, or I'll go by the pool, or whatever. Like, what do I need to be there? But what she took out of that event as well, to then be able to continue to encourage me, because I would come home, and again, she was getting what was left at the end of the day. I was that burnt out from slaving away during the day and coming home and just feeling all grumpy and exhausted and whatever, and her just also having that encouragement in the background for me to keep going. That, I reckon, is probably one of the biggest reasons why I've gotten to where I am. Definitely.
Yeah, it's hard, eh? And that it's definitely something Amelia and I are proud of. Like, we've created a environment where it's both sides. Like, people can bring their partners, and and let's face it, like, a lot of partners are the ones that are running the business and sitting behind the scenes. So, and I see a lot of that as well. Like, in our industry, like, a lot of these coaching, mentoring sort of programs out there, like, they're all focused at the blokes. Like, they're like a blokes club. Like, you've got to, our industry would fall over if it wasn't for wives and partners. So, like, they need to be involved and feel comfortable to be vulnerable and help out. And, like, yeah, you would have seen lately, like, Live Like Build's now got the wives and partners group as well. So that's been a big influence.
Yeah.
But mate, where's, like, besides knowing your numbers and overheads and financials and things, like, what are some of the other big things you've put in place in your business over the last couple of years that are now proving and adding to this success?
Probably one of the biggest changes we've had is actually finding a team that treat it as that they're actually like personally sorry, let me reword that. Finding a team that is actually dedicated and gives a shit about what they do. That trying to find, because we had previous employees have always just gone to work because it's a job. Trying to actually find, and I don't know whether there's a perfect solution to actually try and, rope in anyone that has a genuine interest in what you do to actually be able to properly help you as well. But we've been lucky enough to find a couple of in-house team members. We've got an incredible site supervisor. We've got an awesome project manager that started out as an admin, and within the space of 12 months, we've actually transferred her over to now basically a full-time project manager, and we're looking for a part-time admin to fill that role now as well. Having that team in place in the background as well has allowed me to spend so much more time on focusing on how to continually build the business, work on a few more things in the background, and set up sort of the systems and processes that are a bit more bulletproof. Working on a pretty detailed company manual. It's taken a bit of a back shelf lately, just with spending a fair bit of time on site myself as well, just with a bit of a carpentry shortage at the moment, but trying to build that out so that essentially any new team member that did have to come into the business would be able to go to that company manual, to the library, and be able to watch whether they're Loom videos, screen recordings, flowchart systems, anything like that, that they would essentially be able to, as best as possible, teach themselves how to do their own role. We would have to have very minimal input. So it takes a lot of time, that's for sure. You're definitely going to make sure you schedule that aside. Having input from other team members, I think, has been a valuable one, because it's not just about how I interpret it and how I want to lay out the system that I understand it. It has to be able to be interpreted by the other members of the team as well. So,
yeah, team input's massive, isn't it? Like, if you're just turning up all the time, it's like my way or the highway. Like, it's just going to piss everybody off, and everyone's going to feel like they're not part of a team and things. But, like, your confidence, mate, has just exploded as well. Like, is that confidence come from knowing the business is in a better place, or is it something that you've had to push yourself to be more confident in how you run the business?
I don't know. I've always just liked, without sounding like a wanker, I've always liked putting myself out there and I like showing people what I do through video and stuff like that, rather than if you try and explain to someone at a barbecue on the weekend or whatever what you've been building, it doesn't make sense. Like, they can't visualize it. I'm visualizing it in my head and it sounds amazing, and they're just kind of looking at you with a blank face, as in, like, what's this bloke even talking about? So,
Luke's a bloody natural on the video, guys. He's got a YouTube channel. You'll have to go and check it out.
No, we're getting there. So I don't know. It's just the confidence has been from putting myself out there in the early days and getting that early engagement back from potential clients, family, friends, other people that have seen it. I think I started doing it in the early days. I think it's become a point in the industry now where I think if you're not on social media, if you're not doing it, you're getting left behind. I started doing it really, really early, that it kind of felt like a new thing, and it was being acknowledged quite early, and that was boosting my confidence a little bit. Everyone was going, mate, that's awesome. Like we saw your video you put up the other day, what you've been building, that's awesome. I didn't need to explain it to them because they'd already seen it on a video. So I don't know, it just boosted my confidence early. And I think definitely
The business, like just the times that we've caught up now in person, like your confidence in general, especially when it about having conversations around business, is chalk and cheese to what it was when we first met.
yeah, that's true. That's probably a better way to put it. And I mean, I got to thank Live Life Build for it. I don't want to make this sound like it's just a plug for Live Life Build the whole time, but them being able to have those resources available to implement it, actually have confidence in my business, allows me then to, like, I don't know everything, and I'm sure you don't know everything, and there's probably no one out there that does know everything. But if the little bits of knowledge, the little gold nuggets that I've got, if there's another guy that's just down the road, or I'm catching up with someone, the little bits that I know, if they're struggling with it and I can provide that advice as well fucking why not? It doesn't have to all be a secret.
Yeah, 100%, mate. The trades and builders just need to talk a lot more and help each other out and share information. I think one of my biggest things that I've overcome is you don't know what you don't know. So even if you've been doing something for 10 years, just always take the time to listen to somebody else and how they're doing something and their thoughts on what you're doing. And like 9 times out of 10, you'll finish that conversation and it'll be a combination of maybe both inputs, or you might even say, oh, fuck, like I need to change the way I'm doing something. Like that's a lot better way to do that. Like,
Yeah.
take ownership and just drop your pride, and if someone's got a better way of doing things, and fucking listen to them and have a crack at it.
Yep. Yep. You know, might be a question that you want to ask someone, that thinking that they'll give you the advice for it, and maybe you've actually got the better way of doing it. They'll tell you how they're doing it, and you go, well, hang on, maybe the way I do it is actually better. It's a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful stuff, just having conversation with people, and I guess, and even taking the time to listen to what's being said.
Definitely.
So mate, what's going on with Luke Callery? Like you're kicking goals, the business is cranking along, you're in a good position now. Like are you using all the tools that you've learned and that you've implemented? Like what's the forecast? Like, is it all looking positive? You're staying on top of things?
Yeah, it's looking really good actually. That has been super powerful, is the tools to be able to forecast. That has actually helped us very recently as well. We're going through, because of the style of projects that we're doing, we're increasing our turnover. Thankfully, it's a profitable increase in turnover. Going through like indemnity insurance increases, that sort of stuff, being able to use some of our forecasting tools to be able to show them that this is the work that we've got in the pipeline. This is the likelihood of it going ahead, or this is where it's at as far as a contract or whatever. Showing them how we've worked out using the overheads calculator, what our profit margin is, and showing them that this is the work we've got coming up. This is the percentage of profit that we're going to make on it, guaranteed. That's our bare minimum. It's been a hell of an eye opener for some of the people that we're speaking to in those sorts of industries as well. They're going, holy shit, that's bloody cool. We've never seen that before. So that's, you're not just telling us that you think you're going to make a little bit of money. It's actually you've got the data there to back it up. So that's that's been huge. So yeah, I guess with what we've got some incredible projects coming up. We've got the most work on at the moment that we've ever had, and the biggest value projects that we've got. There's a couple of them that one in particular, the first one that we put all the way through the pack process. We actually worked with these clients from initial consultation to day one starting on site. It was nearly 17 months that we worked with these people before we got it over the line. So it's a very satisfying stage at the moment. We're just at timber framing stage, so it's a bit of a wow factor. You know what it's like when a client sees that go up. It changes their whole perspective on what it's going to look like. So it's the hard yards are definitely reaping the benefits at the moment. It's really cool.
That's awesome, mate. And you got a big pipeline of work in front of you?
Yeah, we have actually. We've again, like, forecasted that sort of what we'd done in the previous financial year. We're probably at bare minimum it'll be the same as what we did, but it's looking like we could probably sneak in an extra couple of projects as well, and it'll just top it off just to be a little bit better, and each year just get a bit better and better. So that's awesome.
So mate, how are you keeping, like, what's your role? How's that changed? Like, how are you keeping on top of everything now that all this is happening? The business is growing. you've got this huge pipeline of work in front of you. Like, what does Luke Callery do differently now to what you did 2 years ago?
I've got to bite my tongue a little bit at the moment because I am actually back on the tools because we've got, like I said, we've got a huge carpentry shortage at the moment. But that's only been like the last couple of weeks. We've got a new chippy starting next week and got a few.
Mate, that's just a leader. You've got to do what you've got to do.
You got to do what you do. Exactly that. Yeah. But before that, like I basically my job is full time off the tools. I do probably a little bit of project management. I help out with Hannah, our project manager, just guide her a little bit because she's still learning as well. But otherwise, I've been able to spend quite a bit more time actually just working in the background on the business, researching other stuff. I've got a huge personal investment now for just wanting to build a lot more sustainable, energy efficient, healthy homes. So researching better products, different building methods, that sort of stuff as well. That I go back, well, even probably 18 months ago, I wouldn't have had the time to do that. I would have been so focused on each project that I didn't have the time to actually sort of work on this stuff in the background. That because at that time, when you're doing that sort of stuff, you're not making any money if you're just looking for alternate products. So you got to sort of get the right team and that sort of those sort of strategies implemented so that you can spend the time on it, as well as go back just a little bit in conversation to the accounting. Then I'm really, really enjoying actually getting stuck into the numbers, and that's something that I've never had the time for before either. Is to actually every meeting that I used to go to with the accountant, go back 18 months ago, 2 years ago, they'd be sitting on the other side of the table talking numbers, and this is the strategy, this is how we got to that, or whatever. And my eyes would be glazing over. I'd be just about falling asleep there or whatever. But now my eyes are wide open and I'm going, just explain that to me again. How does that work? And it's being able to have that time to understand how it all actually works. That has totally changed my perspective on how everything runs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, mate, it's unreal. And the like your confidence in all that too. And like obviously your team's doing really well. So you've got that confidence to spend the time. So like you're working on the business now. You're not stuck in the weeds, trying to just keep that cash flow coming in and pay the bloody bills. So mate, how do you chill out? Like how do you get away from all this? What's your go-to? Like
my go-to, probably my biggest out. That's sort of my most frequent, mountain biking. I bloody love mountain biking. I get a little bit consumed or whatever. I'll go out in the forest and I'll pedal my little heart out. That's definitely my biggest out at the moment. I had some pretty major motocross injuries back in my early days, so I can't do a hell of a lot physically anymore. I'm not a bloody vegetable. I'm probably actually, to elaborate on it, I'm probably actually I feel like I'm in the prime physical condition of my life at the moment, even though I've had these phenomenal injuries. That being able to channel in on what I can do and not stress out on I can't run or I can't do that super physical task anymore. Being able to focus on what I can actually do and do really well at it, that is definitely it's changing my life at the moment. So my biggest out is getting out on the mountain bike. I'm doing a fair bit of like just other exercise, some light weight training and stuff now as well, getting a bit of upper body strength and some core strength back, and I'm feeling freaking awesome. But it's
important, isn't it? To you got to work on yourself. You got to constantly be working on yourself.
Yeah, because if you're not right, nothing else is around you.
Jeez, mate, you're stealing all my sayings now.
Yeah,
that's freaking awesome.
Outside of that, probably one of my other biggest outs. I quite enjoy going. Like camping is definitely, that's our holidays. I'm not interested in going to a city, staying in a flashy hotel, or going overseas or anything like that. But the most overseas travel I've ever done, I've been to Kangaroo Island. That's it. I know we've been roped into, we're going to go in 2026. My mother-in-law's turning 60. We're going to go to New Zealand. So I've got to get a passport for that. I don't have a passport yet. So
holy shit.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, mate, we load up the ute, load up the caravan, chuck the dogs in the back seat, and we just go somewhere where there's either very limited or no phone service. That's my ultimate piece, I reckon. Just get out and chill out.
Yeah. No, that's friggin' awesome, mate. Like so is there a couple of tips for people that are in the industry right now, builders, tradies, that might not be in their best position? Like what's just one or two things that you'd recommend they get stuck into?
Ask for help. That's probably the simplest one you can do. You never know anybody they could be in a pretty close circle around you that they might have, just the simplest little answers to a few things for you. So ask for help. Networking is incredibly powerful. So get out there, ask questions, do your own research. I say this on a few of the Build Insight podcasts as well. I bloody hate plugging social media, but Instagram can actually be one of your best friends. There's so much resource out there, or so many resources out there for other people that are putting out the information that you don't even necessarily have to ask the questions because the information is on their videos or on their photos or whatever. So that's one of the first things I suggest. Make sure you are looking after yourself. Like, work's not everything. There's so much more to life than work. It can definitely feel like work is everything if you have got cash flow issues or whatever and you're solely on the tools, but just take a little bit of chill out time for yourself. Even if it is an hour a week, go for a run, go for a bike ride, do whatever, go walk the dogs, play with the kids, whatever. It's definitely, if you're not right, nothing else can be around you. So look after yourself.
Yeah, it's important, eh? And that you want to be looking out to people that are where you want to be. Like,
yep.
Reach out to them, ask questions. But and mate, just tell us a little bit before we wrap it up. Like, you've got some pretty exciting stuff going on as well. Like, you've managed to branch out now. You've teamed up with some other really good people in the industry, and tell us a little bit about that. What you're doing.
We have, mate. So I've got another little project, Build Insight. Anyone wants to look that up, I'm going to give it a plug, Duayne, even if you like it or not.
Go for go.
Build Insight. Insight is spelled INSITE if you're looking it up. So I guess very relatable with what you're doing, mate. I like sharing what I've learned. I don't think there is enough education out there for wanting to build better, or even just the simplest stuff on the simple how-tos. So myself and another builder, Dean Backman Builders over in Victoria as well, we've teamed up and created this online platform, Build Insight. Got a podcast, I won't say similar to yours, but kind of similar. It's to do with building, I suppose. But yeah, just getting on different guests in all parts of the industry, as well as sort of putting out videos on sort of like better building products, better building methods, different materials, that sort of stuff. Just trying to provide a little bit more education onto what is out there, showing the behind the scenes on what actually goes into construction. I guess it's kind of aimed at a few different platforms. It's, I guess, to help builders see what else is out there, but also hoping that maybe a homeowner might come across that and get a bit more of appreciation on what actually goes into the construction of their home. So yeah,
you've got a couple of other blokes as well, haven't you, that help with content and stuff there?
It's scaled back a little bit at the moment. It's just myself and Dean now. But yeah, we had in the early days, there was a few other contributors that unfortunately business stuff got in the way. So they've sort of had to focus a bit more on that. So it's
yeah, and you because you do on your Instagram page, like, you share some pretty good tips, don't you, about like whatever tools, installs,
whatever it is,
different types of things, materials.
Yep. So we were lucky enough, actually, it was probably maybe about 3 weeks ago. So those that don't know, Bowens is a Victorian hardware supplier. Unfortunately, only in Victoria. I wish they were in SA as well, because I think what they're doing for the industry is phenomenal. I would say, by far the most innovative hardware chain in the country, even though they are only in Victoria. I think they're planning maybe in the near future to expand, but not really sure where yet. If anyone from Bowens is listening, definitely come to SA. But yeah, so they had, it's a biannual event they have at the Bowens Building and Innovation Expo, where they were kind enough to invite us to have a stand there at the expo, get up on the main stage, have a bit of a talk about what our mission is with Build Insight. We jumped up, recorded one of the podcasts with another builder on the stage, and they gave us the stall to actually set up our banners and talk to people. But I reckon we set the banners up. I reckon we spent about 30 seconds at the stall for the whole event. Most of the other time we were going around taking turns interviewing different suppliers and materials and all this extra stuff there, just trying to get some more content to put out to people, saying that, here's a different type of window, or here's a different cladding that maybe it's a bit more sustainable, it's more of a carbon neutral footprint. Just trying to provide a little bit more insight onto what is available. It's not just your stuff that you go to Bunnings or Mitre 10 or whatever and see on the shelf. There is actually more to the industry than just what you can see on the shelf there.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, really appreciate your time this afternoon to chat and talk about, especially being a bit vulnerable, mate, about where you were for those couple of years and those struggling through those times. And obviously, you're kicking it out of the park now, mate. So I take my hat off to you. And look, I am really excited just to continue to see your growth and where you keep going, because if you keep on the same trajectory as you have been for the last 18 months, mate, who knows where you're going to end up. So, congratulations. Look forward to giving you a big hug, mate, next time we catch up. It's always good to catch up in person. But
likewise. Thanks, mate. I appreciate the continued support.
All good, mate. All good. Well, look, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you subscribe. Go check out the new website. Get on board with the merch. It's going nuts. We want everyone in Australia wearing the merch. Keep smashing it on the back because that's what we're doing. And help us to create this new building industry. Cheers, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelikebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.